Have you ever wondered how much you should be earning for your age? In today's video, we're breaking down the latest 2025 salary data from the Office for National Statistics, looking at what people earn in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We'll look at the median salary for each decade, plus where you need to be to sit in the top 30% and the top 10% of earners in your age group. And don't worry, I'll add context too, so what these numbers actually mean for your finances and how you can use them as a benchmark for your own goals. Okay, so let's start with a big picture. The overall UK median salary across all ages is £39,039, but that is a combined average for roughly 30 million full-time workers. What's more useful is seeing how that changes with age. Here is a breakdown by decade. In your 20s is £32,347, 30s is £40,668, 40s is £44,244, 50s £41,866, and 60s and above is £36,467. Now, these are the high level figures. Is that what you're expecting? I'm curious to know how many people feel ahead or behind these averages. We'll also take a look at what it takes to be in the top 30% and the top 10% of earners for every age group and how those numbers compare to the median. Now let's start with your 20s. In your 20s, average full-time salary sits at £32,347 according to the latest data from the ONS, but that data hides a huge range. Early career roles can often start from £25,000, while your late 20s professionals with a few years of experience can earn £35,000 to £40,000 or more. To reach the top 30% of earners in your 20s, you'd need to make around £38,558, and for that top 10% of earners, that means you're earning roughly £52,197, which is amazing, and that would indicate you're in a high growth industry like tech, finance, or engineering, or you've progressed very quickly in a specialized field. So what's really going on in your 20s? Let's take a step back. These are the foundation years. Your salary is less of a reflection of your potential and more about your starting point. Most people here are building experience, switching jobs, or even just figuring out what they actually want to do. And it's also the decade with the fastest income growth. The difference between your first job at 21 and your earnings at 29 can easily double, especially if you change roles or companies strategically. The common patterns here is that your early 20s are about exposure, learning how the workplace operates, building confidence, and understanding what you're actually good at or enjoy. And your mid to late 20s are when your experience starts to pay off. And the more you can demonstrate results or niche skills, the faster your income grows. So the goals for this decade is that you want to invest in career capital, skills, credentials, or a portfolio that makes you hard to replace. You don't want to compare your salary to the people ahead of you. You want to focus on trajectory and not position. You can try to change jobs or negotiate every 12 to 18 months once you've got more experience. That's often where the biggest pay jump tends to happen. And if you can build a habit of saving or investing early, even small amounts can compound massively later. And at the very least, you should have opened up an ISA, which is a tax efficient account. Your 20s are less about how much you earn and more about setting up the habit, skills, and mindset that make your 30s and 40s easier. The money comes in once the foundation is solid, and these are some of the best years where investing in yourself will pay out very well in the long run. In your 30s, salaries see the biggest jump, and the average full-time worker earns about £40,668. That's roughly 25% higher than the average for people in their 20s. It's in this decade when most people go from getting started to getting established. To hit the top 30% in your 30s, your salary needs to be around £50,797, and to reach the top 10%, you need to be earning £75,041. And that's the level where you're likely to be in a senior or specialized role, a management role, or a high-paying field like tech, consulting, or finance. Now, why does the jump happen here? This is a stage where your early experience starts to pay off. You've got 5 to 10 years of experience in your industry and you understand how things work, and your earning power begins to reflect that. But this decade also brings about more financial pressure, mortgage potentially, kids, and the cost of stability. So even though the salaries rise, disposable income doesn't always feel that much higher. Now, the goals for this decade is that if you're in your early 30s and still earning closer to the mid 20s, don't panic. Salary growth often compounds quickly once you hit your stride. You want to focus on positioning yourself for the next level. So things like managing projects, maybe leading small teams, or developing expertise that's hard to replace. And if you're already earning above 50k, this is the time to think about long-term wealth building. So this could be things like investing, pensions, or even exploring a side business in your 40s. By your 40s, most people are well well into their careers. And for many, this is when the earnings tend to hit the peak. And the average full-time salary in the UK for this age group is £44,244. And to be in the top 30%, you need to be earning £56,343. And for that top 10%, that number jumps to around £88,658. This decade is often when experience, seniority, and specialization all kind of come together. You could be leading teams, managing projects, or be in those mid to senior positions. And your pay finally reflects the years of building up skills and credibility. But here's the catch. Even though this is when salaries peak, it doesn't always feel like it. The 40s are also when expenses usually hit their highest point. A mortgage, having children, childcare costs, school costs, or even caring for parents. And while the income looks stronger on paper, disposable income can feel surprisingly tight. And the change here is that the biggest salary jumps tend to slow down compared to your 20s and your 30s. Promotions become more competitive, so growth relies on strategy, not just your performance. And career satisfaction and work-life balance start to matter as much as money itself. So the goals for this stage, if you're earning near or above average, you want to focus on optimizing not just your salary, but your savings rate and your investments. So you could consider this decade to future-proof your career, so upskilling in a variety of areas. The next one is watching lifestyle creep, the quiet trap of spending rising as income rises. And if you're behind on savings, don't panic. The 40s are often your highest earning potential, so even small course correction compound massively. So while your 40s might be your financial peak, they're also the decade where strategy also matters, so turning higher income into lasting wealth. Now in your 50s. By your 50s, earnings begin to level off, and the ONS data shows that an average full-time salary of around £41,866. To reach the top 30%, you'd need to be earning £53,868, and to be in the top 10%, that's £85,226. And for many, this decade represents career maturity. You've built decades of experience, probably holding senior responsibilities, and might even mentor others. But it's also when income growth slows down or starts to plateau. And the reason for that is a mix of potentially fewer promotions, workplace restructuring, or simply reaching the top end of your pay band. So financially, your 50s are pivotal. It can be the highest earning decade, but it's also your last major window to strengthen your retirement and your investment plans. Now, some goals for your 50s. You obviously want to maximize your pension contributions. Those last 10 to 15 years before retirement make a huge difference to compounding. If you're debt-free or nearly there, you can redirect what you used to pay into savings or investments. And at the same time, you want to focus on your health and longevity too, because your career and finances depend on it. And you want to focus on health and your longevity too, because your finances are important, but so is your health. So the 50s are about using your experience and stability to set up the next stage. It's less about chasing raises and more about securing your freedom. Now, if you're in your 60s or above, the average full-time salary drops slightly to around £36,467. The top 30% are £46,951, and the top 10% is roughly £74,677. This decline doesn't necessarily mean people earn less for the same work. It's often because more people move to part-time roles, semi-retirement, or more flexible arrangements. And generally, many in this group prioritize time over income, trading higher pay for balance, health, and passion projects. And there is a definite transition from building income to preserving wealth, and from career advancement to lifestyle design. Review pensions, the state pension age, and drawdown options. Make sure everything lines up for when you stop working full-time. You can keep your skills active if you plan to freelance or consult, because your expertise can generate some very meaningful income. And of course, the biggest one, you want to avoid any major financial risks. Protecting what you've built becomes a priority. Now, as we can see, the 60s are where the numbers can go down, but financial confidence and freedom ideally goes up, and it's more the reward phase for decades of effort. So across the UK in 2025, here's what the data really tells us. Salaries rise quickly in your 20s and 30s, they peak around your 40s, then flatten and ease through the 50s and 60s. But your financial trajectory isn't just about averages, it's about momentum, choices, and timing. Each decade gives you something different. Your 20s are for learning and positioning, your 30s are for growth and acceleration, your 40s are for peak performance and balance, your 50s are for strategy and security, and your 60s are for freedom and the transition into retirement. So wherever you are on that timeline, the key is to stay intentional, know where you stand, what matters most to you, and how you can make the next stage count. I'll link the ONS data I use so you can explore your age in more detail. And remember, your salary is one part of the story, but your progress, habits, and mindset are what makes the biggest difference in the long term. Thanks for watching.